This week's We Need to Talk is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. You guessed it, you can get 20% off and free shipping on everything manscaped.com using the code FOOTBALLDAILY, all one word. That's manscaped.com, and it's well worth it too, because not only will you be helping the channel, but you'll also be making massive savings on products like the Lawnmower 3.0, which comes personally recommended by Patrick Van Straten. And if it's good enough for Van Straten, as you know, as an avid Football Daily fan, is definitely going to be good enough for you. He's giving it the official thumbs up. So yeah, head over to manscaped.com, pick up a load of products, slap in the code FOOTBALLDAILY, all one word. You're going to get 20% off, free shipping, and you'll help the channel. What a day. Anyway, this is the show that looks at football on the internet over the past 7 days. The 7 days that's seen Stevie G celebrating the league title. Thank God it wasn't in England, but it was scenes. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer hoping the Sun will convince Edinson Cavani to stay at the club?
We're just working on getting him back on the pitch and fit, and we'll convince him, you know, when the weather in Manchester improves.
And Pep Guardiola not too happy with VAR after what can only be described, to be fair, as an absolutely comical decision against Phil Foden.
I don't understand why Fulham disallowed the goal against Tottenham. I don't understand the hands from Arsenal against Burnley, and another example is the penalty today. Like, we won, it's incredible, happy, and you know, and everything. John cannot see it, but the VAR is there. Don't whistle the penalty is incredible. You know that for a long time, and maybe in 4 or 5 years, never complain about the referees and the action, but this action is really incredible, incredible.
Anyway, today we need to talk about England again. Alright, lots of you guys at home enjoyed my England tier list of forwards last week. Of course, I was looking at strikers, wingers and attacking midfielders for 9 different slots. And I'm just looking now, I've got over 6,000 likes. Huge thank you to everyone that hit the like button, because it really does help the video and help the channel. But there were quite a few comments on that video asking me to do the same sort of tier list, but with the defensive unit. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. We're going to be looking at the defensively minded players. I guess that's what I'm going to call them. Looking at the fullbacks, the centre-backs and the defensive midfielders. Now, if you remove the 3 goalkeepers and the 9 forwards we selected last week from the 23-man slot, that leaves us with about 11 spaces to fill with these defensively minded players. So I want you guys at home right now, firstly, hit the like button. Let's see if we can beat the 6,000 likes we got on last week's episode. But also to comment your 11 defensive players. Who are they? What's the unit? I'm going to be getting involved in the comments for like the first couple of hours this video is live. Let's crack on then, because I want to make it clear at the start, these are my picks. Obviously, Gareth Southgate hasn't leaked nothing to me, and this isn't what I think Gareth Southgate will take. It's what I think I would take. Okay, hope that makes sense. Bit of confusion on last week's episode about that. Let's start with the fullbacks. I'm going alphabetical. So we've got Matty Cash up first. Now, he hasn't been capped yet, has he? And I think he has had a good season. Aston Villa's defensive record has massively improved. It's just a shame for Matty Cash. He's in the deepest position in the squad. That right back slot is absolutely Arnold Schwarzenegger jacked. Steroided, pedded up to the max. Yes, he's got 2 assists this season, and he has put up massive defensive numbers. 4.5 tackles and interceptions cannot be overlooked. But I'm overlooking it. I'm going to put my Cash unlikely. Ben Chilwell is up next then, and he has struggled under Thomas Tuchel. I'm not going to lie. I think it's because he's gone to that back 3, and Marcos Alonso probably is a better wing back. Ben Chilwell's better in a back 4. And that does slightly concern me, I'm not going to lie, because England, I do think, against the better sides, fare more of a chance, potentially, playing with a back 3 and wing backs. Nevertheless, I do still really like Ben Chilwell. I think, even though he's not as good of a wing back as Marcos Alonso, he still offers stuff going forward. 6 goal involvements this season. He has scored a couple perlers as well. I'm going to put Ben Chilwell, yeah, for me, very likely. Cresswell is up next then, and he has played really well this season, and he also offers cover in the left centre-back slot, which I think is key. Hasn't been capped since 2017, and the issue for him, I think, is that Luke Shaw is a much better footballer and also offers cover at left centre-back. Cresswell for me at 31. Sorry, just unlikely, Aaron. Reece James is up next then. And I would have said about sort of November time, yeah, he's going to go. But his form has actually tailed off quite badly, hasn't it? Only 2 assists. I don't think he's got an assist since sort of mid-December in the Premier League, which is quite worrying. And now that Tuchel's come in, hasn't really locked down that wing-back slot, has he? He's been flittering in and out. He's tried Hudson-Odoi there, of course. I don't think Reece James, I wouldn't take him. I just think that there's better right-backs out there. I think there are 3 right-backs ahead of Reece James before we get to him. So for me, I'm going to stick him on the injury call-up sort of tier. Yeah, injury call-up tier. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, no chance. No. Since joining West Bromwich Albion, moving into this sort of central midfield nonsense, no. No chance. Luke Shaw then, best left back in the league this season for me. He's created more chances than any other defender in the Premier League, of course, not including João Cancelo as the left back because he's more of a right back naturally, isn't he? I think he's been United's player of the season after Bruno Fernandes, starter in my England team, whether he's playing as a left-sided centre-back in a back 3 or a left-back in a back 4. Nailed on Luke Shaw, and that's something I didn't think I'd say last season. Target is up next then. Hasn't been capped by Southgate, has he? And a bit like Matty Cash, I just think he's unfortunate that the left-back slot is still pretty stacked with the likes of Chilwell, Luke Shaw. Just not quite there for me. I'm going to stick Matty Target in unlikely. Trent Alexander-Arnold then. I still love him. I know he's had a down season, 3 assists in the Premier League, but what a fantastic player. I would start him every day of the week in my England team. Just, yeah, I'm going to put him in nailed on. I don't care that he's had a slightly down season. I think he's still got so much to offer for England. Kieran Trippier. Now, here's an interesting one because I've got to make the decision here. Am I going to take 2 right backs, 2 left backs, or am I going to take 3 right backs, 2 left backs? I think I'm going to go 2 and 2 as the split here. So I'm looking for 4 fullbacks. I've already gone with Chilwell, Shaw, and Trent. I don't think I'm going to go for Trippier. I think if it hadn't been for the ban, he would have been in the squad. But that 10 weeks sets him back really dramatically. And I know that Atletico Madrid were flying with him in there. He is still an option, but I think I'd put him in injury call-up just because I'm going to go 2 and 2. Gareth will probably end up going 3 and 2, but not for me. And the reason that I'm not going to put him in my very likely category is because Kyle Walker up next, I think, is my very likely. Even though Cancelo has been better than him this season, there's no denying. Cancelo's probably been one of the outstanding fullbacks in world football, though. So that's not a slight on him. I just like Walker's ability to play on the right side of a back 3 too. He does have a stinker in him, in that a lapse of concentration often gets covered because of his pace. But I still like the ability, like Shaw, to play as a right back and a right-sided centre-back. So for me, I'm putting Walker in there just ahead of Trippier, but I would guess that Gareth will go for both of them. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is next. And sadly for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I think he'll probably not go on the plane, and that rejection will push him to going and playing for DR Congo. I just don't think he's good enough going forward right now. He might well develop that, and it's certainly something he's looking to improve at Manchester United, and he is still the best out-and-out tackler in the league. In fact, I think he's the best 1v1 defender in the league. Not many players get the better of Wan-Bissaka. We've seen him lock down Neymar, Mbappe, Sterling this season at times. But I just think that Walker, Trippier, James, and, of course, Trent are all ahead of him right now. So I'm going to put, alongside James and Trippier, Wan-Bissaka on the injury call-up bench. Moving on to centre-backs then. 4 slots have already gone to my full-backs. I think I'm going to go for 5 slots to my centre-backs, just because we might end up playing the back 3. And the first name, alphabetically, is Conor Cody. I really like Conor Cody. He hasn't had his best season at Wolves by far, but I believe we need leaders in the dressing room, and Conor Cody is certainly one of that. We can't just take a squad of youngsters. I think Conor Cody's experience helps. I also think playing in a back 3 is his bread and butter. If we're going to play a back 3, then you may as well take Conor Cody as the centre-back at the heart of it. I just like him. I think Conor Cody is going to go in my very likely category. I'm sure there'll be comments disagreeing with that, but good enough. Eric Dier is up next, and I don't think he has been good enough this season. People will say, well, Spurs much higher up the table than Wolves and potentially a better defensive record, but I think their centre-back Spurs have struggled really badly this season. The likes of Davidson, Sanchez, Alderweireld, Dier, I just don't think he's as good as Conor Cody. So I'm putting him in unlikely. Lewis Dunk is up next. I think he's had a really solid season, Lewis Dunk. Playing alongside Ben White has definitely helped him. I just don't think he's quite as good as some of the other centre-backs I'm going to talk about further on the list. They've only conceded 35 goals this season, Brighton. It's been the attack that's let them down more than the defence. But I just think Dunk is probably 6th or 7th choice for me here. Which sounds harsh, but it's just not. I'm going to put Dunk on the injury call-up list. Michael Keane, on the other hand, I think has had an exceptional season this year. I think Michael Keane has flown under the radar. If you ask a lot of Everton fans who's been some of their best players this season, a lot of them will say the likes of Michael Keane. Very underrated. Probably our 3rd best centre-back this season, Michael Keane. Solid. Very solid. Been impressive. And I would take him. I would definitely take him. I'm not going to say he's nailed on, even though I think he'll very likely go for Gareth, and he's very likely to go for me. So, unless there's a disaster towards the back end of the season, he's going in my very likely category. Ezri Konsa, then, and this is going to be my roguish shout of the day. I really like Ezri Konsa. I think he's already ready to play for a better club than Aston Villa. No offence to the Aston Villa fans out there. Brilliant defender, great reader of the game, Ezri Konsa. Pretty calm on the ball as well. I think he's already better than Tyrone Mings, and that's saying something given his age and his profile. I think he's, alongside Emi Martinez, one of the sole reasons that Aston Villa's defence has improved so drastically this season, his improvement as an individual. They've only conceded 27 goals, and Ezri Konsa has only dribbled past once every 10 games. And I just like the idea of having one young centre-back in there. You know, whether it be Konsa, whether it be Ben White. It would obviously usually be Joe Gomez, but he's not going to be available because of that knee problem. So I'm going to put Konsa in there. I just think, yeah, give him a go. Because he offers something a little bit different to our other centre-back options. Harry Maguire is up next then. And slate him all you want. He has still been pretty solid for Manchester United this season. Maybe not as solid as we all thought he would be, but he's going to be in my nailed on category. Everybody already knows I like him an awful lot, Harry Maguire, so I'm not going to rant on about how much of an underrated passer of the ball he is and carrying the ball into the opposition third. I'm just going to say he's nailed on, okay? Start commenting away. Tyrone Mings, then I mentioned him a bit with Konsa. I just think Konsa is the better player. So I'll put him in injury call-up, but I think he is prone to a whiffer as well, and I've been quite kind there. Could easily be unlikely. No, I'll stick with injury call-up. Moving on then to John Stones. Yeah, I think he's been the best English centre-back this season by a bit of a distance, to be honest with you. His development under Ruben Diaz, or alongside Ruben Diaz, has been marked. They've only conceded 21 league goals. Manchester City, the best defensive unit by a mile, and he's been a solid part of it. I think if we play a back 2, it'll be him and Maguire. Back 3, I would probably go Stones, Maguire, and then one of Coady or Keane. But yeah, Stones, nailed on. James Tarkowski is up next then, and I think, look, he's got an amazing partnership with Ben Mee, and he obviously knows Nick Pope, who would probably be my starting goalkeeper, but I think I'm going to put him in unlikely. Just don't think he's as good as Coady, Keane, Stones, Maguire, and I like the rogueness of Konsa. So that's the reason he's not in there. And it's a bit similar with Ben White as well, just to touch on him. I would like to take one young English centre-back, and I'm going to take Konsa over White. I think he's had a better season than Ben White. Nevertheless, still going to go in unlikely, not in no chance. Okay, so that leaves 2 defensive midfielder slots, right? 4 fullbacks, 5 centre-backs, that makes 9. Good maths. And then I need 2 DMs to take it to the 11. Alphabetically then, Jordan Henderson, I'm going for nailed on here. He would be one of the first names on the team sheet for me. And I'm sure people will disagree with that. A lot of people would say they prefer a Rice and Mount midfield. But I still think Henderson is our outstanding defensive midfielder. I think he's a better distributor than Declan Rice. And although Liverpool have an off year, I still believe his leadership is so extensive, he has to start. Yeah, I'm going to put him in nailed on. Rice will also be in my nailed on category because he's probably a starter alongside Hendo against the big teams. And, you know, there are arguments to be made that he starts even against the small teams alongside Mount. But as I just said, I prefer Hendo in there. Obviously, been sensational for West Ham this season. Most tackles, most interceptions. I think most ball recovery, second most progressive passes for West Ham, who have had an awesome season themselves. So Henderson and Rice are going to be my nailed on ones. That takes me to 11. I will just touch on Calvin Phillips, who's going to be in my injury call-up tier. I think Leeds have been good, and he's been at the heart of everything good about them. His distribution is exceptional, but I don't personally think he's as good as Rice. And I don't think he's as far into his development as Henderson, obviously. So I'm going to go for him in injury call-up. Also want to touch on James Ward-Prowse, because obviously his set pieces are the best in England. But I don't think that's enough to carry him on the plane for me. It might be for Gareth Southgate. I could easily see him taking James Ward-Prowse if you're Gareth Southgate. But I would just go for Hendo and Rice as my defensive midfield options and then take more forwards, as I said last week. And that's the same reason Curtis Jones isn't going to be on the plane for me. I think both of those, Ward-Prowse in unlikely, Curtis Jones in unlikely. I just don't think it's going to happen for either of them in my team. Sorry, lads. So yeah, that was my 11 defensively minded players to go alongside my 9 forwards from last week. My 3 goalkeepers are pretty obvious, aren't they? Pickford, Pope and Dean Henderson. Who would your 11 players be, though? Let me know in the comments below. Let's try and get this video to 5,000 likes. And before you do anything else, make sure you go to manscaped.com. 20% off all products on the site using the code FootballDaily. That's FootballDaily, all one word, on manscaped.com. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. See you later. Bye.